Hey everybody, welcome back to the Life of Logos podcast. My name is Colin.
And I'm Ken.
We're getting right into it today. We're picking up where we left off with monitoring spirits.
Yeah, they be out there, man. They be shifty, right?
Yeah.
They be shifty and watching you. Okay, so like your grandma ever tell you, like, be careful what you say, right? Your words matter.
Right.
My mom used to tell me that all the time. Still does. Watch what you say, and what you say is important. There's power and like a value in words. So like in this word economy, right? Like it's like, okay, like I see that, but like also like, how can my words come back to bite me? How can they come back full circle and not exactly be to my benefit, right? So like, we were talking about in the last episode the concept of monitoring spirits, right? So there are different folks in Christian literature who talk about monitoring spirits. Other podcasts also touch on it as well, of the concept of these entities, these hellish entities that just sit there and they're evil, but like their real job is just to snitch on you.
Got gossips.
Gossips. You know, you're talking about, you know, me and Colin are kicking it, we're having a good time, we're talking about, you know, this and that, and like I'm having a good time here, or I'm having a bad time there. My life is going great in this area of my life, and this area is just terrible. Man, it sucks so bad. This is where I'm lacking, and blah 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 blah. And then there's just somebody from the outside just scribbling everything down.
Wild.
And their job is to make that information useful. Being in the Air Force, both of us understand the crucial aspect of being able to take information, just a little bit of information, and make it useful.
For sure.
Right? So whether like you take a little bit of information and expand it into an entire brief, and sometimes when that brief gets out to the right stakeholders or the right audience, a greater discussion is had.
True.
Off of a small idea, right? It could be a 5-minute brief that you have as a lieutenant, as a captain, as a major, or whatever, right? And it bubbles up. Now it's a hot topic. Now you have your industry and research partners doing heavy research and data analysis on what it is you just spoke about, because, you know, the information's not there. So then what do? They go out into the field and they try to find more information. They try to gather and amalgamate more stuff so that they can feed potentially a decision.
Fair.
Right? Because that's where it all bubbles up to. All this information flow. Where does it end? Where does it go? It ends in a decision. Okay? So, and this analogy, right? There are these things who listen to you. You brief about your life every day. You're talking to your mom, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your co-workers, the person at Starbucks, whoever. And you're just sitting there at Blockbuster. Probably not Blockbuster. But
Not
like,
anymore. Not anymore for sure.
Box Lunch?
Box lunch. You're sitting there at Box Lunch. Sponsor us.
Sponsored. Like,
Yeah.
but like you're passing this information along to all these people that you pass by. Even the people like on the crosswalk. How are you doing today? Man, could be better. Could be having a better day, man. And then there's somebody there in the shadows, in the dark, in those creepy crawly places where mold grows and fungus. They're sitting there, writing down how you feeling, how you interpret the world. You pray out loud, you know, you listening to your prayers, they listen to everything they can. And they're taking all that data so they can use it against you, right? So a decision can be made on how to fuck up your life, essentially, which is terrible, which is crazy, right? So it's not, don't talk about your problems, don't go to therapy, and, you know, don't say anything out loud, keep it all inside, bottle it up, and push it down. But like, when you do think about it, it is like, maybe that is why older people didn't say anything back in the day. They felt all the same stuff that we feel now, probably worse, you know?
It's a valid point.
I get upset about my hybrid job. I'd be like, man, I got to go in today 2 out of 3 days. I got to go into the office for 8 whole hours. I'd be mad, bro. But like, you know, like back in the day, like people really had like tougher things to go through on a consistent basis. And there was no Google to help you out of problems. There was no OpenAI. There was no ChatGPT. There was no software that could have really helped the common person out. So it was like really just them and God and whoever was in their immediate community.
Right.
Right? So like, why didn't they talk about these things? Like, we can talk about like, oh, well, it wasn't fashionable to talk about these things. Really? Like, it wasn't cool? That's why they didn't do it? Because there's machismo in it and not communicating my feelings. There's, I feel strong. Ooh, holding all this in.
Right.
Getting gray and feeling bad. My bones aching because I'm holding it in. The
I'm
stress.
32. Yeah.
I love stress.
That was a different age they were like that.
I mean, yeah, but like, because they were like that because like the sake of being like that?
Maybe.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
I don't know. What you got?
Here's the thing, right? Is that, and this is different upbringings.
Yeah.
Right. Again, up until the last episode, I had never heard about monitoring spirits. I was taught. I grew up in a family where, and not to negate what you said by any means.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family where everything was rationalizable. Right. So like, hey, there's a monitoring spirit. I definitely had things where like, you need to watch what you say.
Yeah.
Even the things that you say behind closed doors.
Right.
But when I was taught what that was, it was a matter of the things that you say give legitimacy to your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And there's like this hierarchy of action that begins with an idea.
Right.
Your idea, like, hey, maybe it's a spark, maybe that's a temptation, whatever. And then maybe you ruminate on that idea.
Okay.
Maybe you take that idea and those thoughts and you ruminate them into speech. And then those speeches become action, and those actions become habit, and those habits become your destiny.
All right.
Right. And I'm not convinced that there isn't such a thing as monitoring spirit. Like, there very well could be. I'm not the type of person to say something is or something isn't. Primarily because if you were to, it's so much more difficult, by the way, to prove that something isn't than something is.
I was gonna come back around the other way, but
Right.
with that, but
It
yes.
is.
And you want to talk about medicine, like how we didn't on the medical side, right? Like, it took on the medical side.
Okay.
Right? So like it took basically until scurvy for people to look inside versus outside, because we live in a world of like there's something happening to me, right?
That
so like
tends to be the
I look at the life that's happening and it's because I did something, cause and effect, and it's never necessarily something wrong inside or like something that's this way, right?
Yeah.
So it's scurvy, like the physician that looked at that condition is actually the person who like popularized all the vitamins and like taking supplements and minerals like we do today, right? Because it's a severe vitamin C deficiency, right? So like without vitamin C, you go into scurvy and get the rashes and the weird skin and whatever. Right?
You're a pirate.
Pirate, right?
Yeah.
Only pirate would know that. But it took him looking from the inside out to be able to get that perspective, and he was like really one of the first people to do that, because everything before was like, and I think Robert Greene talks about this a little bit too, that like a lot of people previously would look at things like, okay, I did something, so something should happen to me, or I did this, and because I did this, I set a thing in motion. But like everything isn't necessarily cause and effect like that. Even though like with the monitored spirits, it's like, oh well, I said something,
Right.
so like cause effect.
Yeah.
I see that. But like on the other side, like you got something that is like again symptomatic of you, that is putting in motion something else versus like something just random chance happening to you. Like how many times have like you just stepped outside and like something good happened to you, right?
I mean, sometimes.
Like I'll give you a good example. Like one time, like weird enough, it's my girl's birthday, and walk outside, and at the last, it was a 3-phase date. It was a boat ride, it was a virtual reality thing after that, and then the third thing was like a 5-course dinner, right?
Super romantic.
It not. So, like on the way to dinner, right? She's wearing like these heels. Her feet hurt, and she's like just walking, claw-toed and just fucked up. The shoes too big and too loose, but also like too tight at the same time.
Somehow.
Ladies, I'm sure you worn shoes like this. Fellas, if you've worn shoes like that, I haven't, but It be like that. It be like that.
It be like that.
People, if you wear shoes like that, it be like that. So she's over there gnarled footed, you know, tiptoeing, you know, clawing her way through the pavement. And we look over and she's like, oh, money. And I was like, what? And she just says random things, right? So like, I didn't think anything of it, but like looked over, it was like $10 balled up on the ground. And I was like, you gonna get it? And she's like, oh, I don't know, is it gross? I was like, oh no, it's serendipity, right? Like $10, take it. It's $10. So she scoops it up, looks at it, puts the money, folds it 4 ways, puts it in a little purse or whatever. And she just got a random $10. Did she do anything in life to deserve that $10? Maybe. I don't know. But like, did she set anything in action that day to become on $10? No, or did the $10 just so happen to be there? Right? Oh. So like, on the good side. On the bad side, like how many times have you walked outside and something bad was just sitting there waiting? Just sitting there just like dang, bro, like a car wreck, bad news on the job, you know, family drama, relationship drama, all these things where it's like you're just living your life, you're just doing your thing, and then you look up and you're like, oh man, like why is this happening to me right here, right now? Is that like one of those things, one of those like karma things? Again, like from a Christian perspective, like karma doesn't really make sense, right? Like you don't really reap karma and cosmic things like that. God will influence your life to show you things and to bring you to certain places, and he will allow certain things to happen to get you to where he wants you to be so that he can use you in a certain way. Right? So going back to monitoring spirits, sometimes they will think that they're working on behalf of hell, Hades, the devil, the evil people, right? Little pitchforks and the pointy head people, right? So that could be happening, right? And you say things, and they'll try to take this information and hoard it. And I personally feel the more that they can use and hoard at a time, the bigger